Hey everybody, Sammy here at SFI Sports Cards, back with another video. Today is January 10th, so I've got a stack of cards here that I want to flip through real quick. So as I go through them, let's see if you can guess what type of exclusive club they all belong to. Now I know this is quite the broad subject to think about, but maybe you can guess as I shuffle through them. Here we go. First, Steve Rogers, a longtime Expo. Jerry Koosman, who has one of the greatest rookie cards out there. Steve Carlton, the Hall of Famer, and multiple times Cy Young Award winner. Clyde Wright, who spent a lot of years with the Angels before going to the Rangers on this card. Here's one. Former MVP Bucky Walters, one of the great pitchers in the National League in his day. Here's one. Jack Quinn. 247 wins in his career. I actually want to do a spotlight on him sometime soon, so I will get to that hopefully in the near future. Who else do we have? Don Larson. We all know him as the pitcher who pitched a perfect game in the '56 World Series. Next, Phil Niekro, Hall of Famer. Another Hall of Famer, Red Ruffing. Next, Randy Jones, former Cy Young Award winner. And here up top, Doc White, who is not in the Hall of Fame, but had a tremendous career. Okay, now we have two guys on this card that we want to look at. Denny McLain and Louis Tiant. And Sam McDowell doesn't really have anything to do with this list, but he was a tremendous pitcher in his own right. And finally, on this beautiful card, we're going to focus on the guy in the bottom left. Dick Turk Farrell. Now, I think I've covered all players. Now, what do they all have in common besides being tremendously talented pitchers? I mean, this group spans about 80 years. It's full of Hall of Famers, All-Stars, Cy Young Award winners, MVPs even. You know, some of them had, a couple of the greatest seasons in history of baseball. But one thing they do have in common, and I will say this as respectively as possible. They're all a bunch of losers. That's right, I said it. It had to be said. Every one of these pitchers has lost at least 20 games in a season at least once in their career. So, okay, how many times has this happened throughout history? How about a roundabout number of 499 times that a pitcher has 20 losses in a season? Now, back in the early 1900s and way back in the 1800s, this was not unheard of. Pitchers pitched twice a day, every other day. The first season this happened, two pitchers accomplished this. Candy Cummings, who was a Hall of Famer, and Jim Britt, in 1872. Now, Brett played only 2 seasons. He went 9-28 in 1872 and 17-36 in 1873. So only pitched 2 seasons, and he was done. Now, the last to accomplish this feat was Mike Maroth in 2003 with the Detroit Tigers. That team finished 43-119. Ouch. I believe that is the worst record in the modern era. In the American League, I believe the Mets still hold that record. 1962, I believe. And you know what's funny about Maroth is that he was the opening day pitcher for the Tigers that year. Okay, so from 1900 to 1920, an average of 5 pitchers per year finished with 20 losses. So really not that rare that this would happen back then. Now, I didn't do this to belittle any of these pitchers. Actually, to get 20 losses, the manager must have had some sort of confidence in these men to take the mound that often. Many of them were aces of the staff, just pitching for bad teams. Now, here are some numbers I'd like to pass along. Now, these are related to the past 100 years, so the modern era, starting around 1920. So, let's talk about Don Larsen. In 1954, this would be 2 years before making history. Game 6 of the 1956 World Series. He played for the, I guess you could say, anemic Baltimore Orioles. He had a record of 3-21. That is the 8th worst losing percentage in history and the lowest in the modern era. You know, there have been repeat offenders for losing 20 games. Some of the more prominent names: Cy Young, Walter Johnson, Old Hoss Radbourn, Ted Lyons, Phil Niekro, Red Ruffing, Epper Rixey. So, Phil Niekro in 1979 had 20 losses. But he also had 20 wins. Now, another pitcher that is, I think, sort of underrated. I don't have his card. At least I didn't find it. Wilbur Wood for the White Sox. Fellow knuckleballer. So in 1973, he also had 20 losses. But he also had 24 wins. So those two are the only pitchers since 1923 to make at least 43 starts in a season. Now, another exclusive club is the consecutive 20-loss season, or seasons. This has been done 4 times in the modern era. Paul Derringer in 1933 and 34. Also Red Ruffing, before his Yankee days. And he did that in 1928 and 29. Bump Hadley, he also did this in 1932 and 33. And the other pitcher, Roger Craig. He did this in 1962 and 63, consecutive 20-loss seasons. Now, how about 20 losses in 3 different seasons? Bobo Newsom accomplished this in 1934, 1941, 1945. Now, you might ask, with that many 20-game losing seasons, he couldn't have been that good of a pitcher, right? Well, he also had a 20-year major league career. So you put that in perspective. Okay, some more info. In 4 different seasons, a 20-game loser received MVP consideration. Slim Harris in 1927, Hugh Mulcahy twice in 1938 and 1940, and Murray Dixon in 1952. Now, 17 times a pitcher lost 20 games, and the next season won 20 games. 2 pitchers, Paul Derringer and Randy Jones, lost 20 games and then repeated the next 2 seasons with 20 wins. You know, way to bounce back for those 2 guys, you know? Let's set that up like that. Okay. Where was I? Okay. Since 1920, 97 times a pitcher has lost 20 games and had an ERA under league average. And 2 of those pitchers, Dick Barrett and Gordon Rhodes, would lose 20 games and never wear a major league uniform again. Now also since 1920, 8 times 2 teammates would lose 20 games for one team. And here's something interesting. 2 franchises with the most 20 lost seasons with a pitcher on their roster. The Athletics, playing in Philadelphia, Kansas City, and Oakland with 14. Second on the list with 13, the Philadelphia Phillies. So that's 2 teams in the Philadelphia area that contributed to the first 2 spots on this list. So, what does this all mean? Probably nothing. All I can think of is it's okay to be a loser. No, in all honesty, it's just a statistic that is much forgotten about from the other sexier statistical accomplishments. I mean, nowadays people don't really think about wins and losses. I mean, I think they should a little more than they do, but as far as a pitcher's productivity, don't look at that too much anymore. I just thought this was a very interesting deep dive into this stat. And I was actually quite surprised about how many players that I have cards of that are on this list. And I am missing a lot. Like I said, this has happened 499 times since 1872. And I don't believe it's going to happen anytime soon. 20 losses in a season in today's game, I do not see happening. And I'm sure some collectors out there that have big collections, they have, you know, quite a bit of these players as well on this 20 lost list. So let me know your thoughts. Any stories that you may know about any pitchers on this exclusive club? I should say in this exclusive club. You know, you can check out this list on Baseball Reference, and I will leave the link to that list in the description box. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Just something I wanted to throw out there. And, you know, just say hi to everybody out there. And, you know, let me know in the comments any questions you might have on this. And I will try my best to give you more information if you'd like. But that's all for now. And I will talk to you soon. Everybody take care. Talk to you later.